I find in chapter 18 another experience, and this is all going on when Elijah is going through an extremely testing time. And what happened now is Elijah called for Ahab to call together the prophets of Baal. And you know the story of this miracle in chapter 18, where Elijah in verse 21 challenges the people. And he says, how long will you halt between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him. And the people didn't answer. And you know, we have to face something of this challenge today. Because there are, I'm going to say this bluntly, there are many so-called religions, well, there are religions, but they don't have any power. Only God has power. And it troubles me when I see people praying to their images and worshipping their so-called gods, knowing that there is no life there, there is no power there. I mean, today people are worshipping the moon god, even in Britain. And vast numbers of people are worshipping the moon god. And the moon god cannot answer. He cannot answer. And so Elijah knew that Baal could not answer. And you know what he did. He says he took the sacrifice. He said, now look, which God can answer by fire is the true God. And the prophets of Baal, you know, they prepared the sacrifice. There were 450 of them, and they spent all the time in prayer. And Elijah says, you call the name of your God, I will call on the name of my God. The God that answers by fire, let him be God. And all the people said, yeah, that's a good idea. So in verse 25, this is chapter 18, Elijah says to the prophets of Baal, choose you one bullock, I'll call the other, and you get it ready and prepare and get the whole sacrifice ready, but don't put any fire on the sacrifice. They did it. And in verse 26, they called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, and there was no answer. And then, of course, I love this because Elijah mocks them, and he says, cry aloud, for he's a god. Either he's talking, he's hunting, or he's on a journey, or he's asleep, and you have to waken him. Now, I love the way that Elijah gives these very, very human attributes to Baal, because he knows that Baal is not, has no power. And you know that nothing happened. And that when it came to the time of the evening sacrifice and there was no answer, then Elijah calls the people to come together, and he rebuilt the altar of the Lord. He took 12 stones, the number of the tribes. He put wood on it. He put the bullock in pieces, laid him on the wood. And then he told them to fill 4 barrels with water and pour it on the sacrifice. He did it the second time. They did it the third time. So that's 12 barrels of water poured on the sacrifice. Now, how can anybody call fire on the sacrifice when it's soaked with 12 barrels of water? And by the way, I have actually been to this place, and it was a man who lived in Israel most of his life that actually showed me the real place where this happened. It's not where tradition says it is. And the amazing thing is that in the time of drought, that they could actually get 12 barrels of water. And this is quite a significant story. But Then he prays and he says, hear me, O Lord, that this people may know that you are the Lord God and that you have turned them back again. So in other words, Elijah is saying, when this miracle happens, it will be a confirmation not only that you are the Lord God, but that you have forgiven their backsliding and restored the people. And you know, this is the wonderful thing about God, that the whole history of Israel through the Old Testament is of a nation that saw the miracles and then backslid. It's like when Moses was on the mountain receiving the Ten Commandments. When he came down, the Israelites had turned their backs on God and made a molten calf and worshipped it. They were constantly doing this, but God never forsook his people. And always, when they repented and turned back to him, he was willing to forgive. And you know what happened this time. And as Elijah prayed, it says in verse 38, then the fire of the Lord fell, consumed the burnt sacrifice, the wood and the stones and the dust, and licked up the water in the trench. And when the people saw it, they were so amazed. They fell on their faces and said, the Lord, he is God. Now, the interesting thing is that the very man who showed me the place, years before, he had been there and discovered a piece of blue stone. He showed it to me. I had it in his pocket. And he said he was so amazed at the miracle, how this fire could burn up. Fire cannot normally burn the water and even the stone, as this had. So this friend of mine was so intrigued, he sent the stone to the Atomic Research Station in England, and they confirmed this stone, which I was looking at, I saw it, I held it. This stone could only have been formed by an atomic explosion. And to me, it's absolutely clear that God here could use the controlled power of an atomic explosion to destroy the sacrifice, the wood, the water, and even the stone, and it says even the dust. So powerful was that controlled explosion.